Hey everybody, welcome to day 4 of the 13 days of Halloween. I am the Art Sherpa, Cinnamon Cooney, the Art Sherpa, your Art Sherpa, somebody's Art Sherpa today. And today I'm going to be showing you a very easy scarecrow for Halloween. Now this is going to be a step-by-step acrylic lesson during the live stream. I'm not going to fast forward, I'm not going to do any of that. I'm going to show you every step of the process to create this guy. And if you're very new to painting, this is a fantastic project for Halloween. This is another great one to do with the kids. And as you can see, while he's got the spirit, he's not that scary. So we're staying very much in the cute zone. If you... Is something happening? I don't know what John did there. I have no idea how I got... That's John. Those hands are stunt hands. That's my husband, John, and he helps me teach these lessons by keeping track of one of our many cameras that are all robotic. They zoom in. And what this basically means for you, the new student, is that you can see every part of the process. So if I mix a color, you're going to see how I mix the color. You're going to see how I brush it on the canvas. You're going to see the brush strokes. You're going to see the techniques. And what that essentially does is it makes art so much easier for beginning artists. And it makes it kind of fun for the intermediate ones too. So if you're ready to give this painting a try, let's just jump on in.
All right.
Okay. Whew. All right. Over here, we have CAD yellow medium, CAD red light. And you could also use a CAD orange, just any bright yellow, bright orange. We have a black here. This is Mars black. I have a Doxazine purple. I have a titanium white. I have a quinacridone magenta. And I have a very special product called acrylic glazing liquid gloss. Sometimes that helps me with blending or the drying of my paint. It also lets me glaze and extends my paint. So it's a good money saver. That's all I'm going to be using today. I've got my reference here. This is a digital work that I did to kind of figure out how I wanted to do today's thing. But we're going to be painting it on an 11 by 14 surface. Now, if you check the description below, you're going to see a link to our website. And during the show, I'm going to be taking step-by-step progress pictures, and I'm going to make a step-by-step followable guide for you. So that will really help you alleviate the anxiety if you're new to painting about knowing where we are and what we're going for at each stage of the painting. Plus, there's a traceable, and you can just download that and transfer it onto the canvas. And if you've never done that before, there's a video about how to do that. And if you've never painted before, there's a video about how to start. So you are covered. If you've decided today is your day to jump in, you have picked a great day. Now, we like to put on our surfaces like wishes or intentions and things. And today is very special. First, we want to wish a happy birthday this upcoming Saturday to Dalton. But his wish is going in today, and we want him to have joy and comfort and love and support and always be in his greatest good. And then also, we would like to add a cure for EB, so no more families go through this. And then we also are wishing for hope and strength for Paul, and also a cure for cancer. And then finally, as I've been doing lately a lot, become an official Disney artist and get the license to make Disney art on the channel. Let's really put that on our canvas because I really want that to happen. Okay, so I have here a brush. This is called a cutter, and I've got a 1.5 inch cutter and a 1 inch cutter. This is hog bristles that are flagged. So it's a natural filament. And the reason that you use natural is just sometimes they're a little softer for the blending. I'm going to get rid of my nice, wonderful wishes, put them into the universe where, you know, they can go do some good. And I'll just use a little water to brush those away. This is a watercolor pencil, and that's why that's so easy to do. And you can kind of also see already how this brush is going to help me. Now I'm going to start with the 1.5 inch big brush. All right. So what you want is just a nice, big, fluffy brush. And I'm going to barely get it wet. I'm going to come in and, oh my gosh, just barely, guys. I don't know if you can see this in the jar, how little I'm touching the ends of that into the water. Whenever you're using hog or natural hair with acrylic, your big worry, let me get some white into this, is you can see just that amount. Look how much water that carried. So much, right? And you don't want that much water. See how that's dripping off? Going into your painting. So that is your big worry, is how to get enough water on there to help the paint flow, but not so much that it's drippy. So hopefully that demo was helpful, because I think sometimes that's one of those tricky hidden obstacles that we don't necessarily always see coming. Now I'm going to start with just a little bit of my pink into my brush. You can see I'm sort of loosely mixing it. And I'm going to come across this lower third area, which is going to be above the landscape. And I'm going to brush it up like this. See how lightly I'm brushing it? I'm going to just come here, brushing it so lightly. You can also, to help improve things, sometimes very barely mist your canvas, and that will help the paint find its flow out. I'm coming around in sort of a circle, and then where I want to blend it, look what I do. I just dust over it very lightly, and you can see that softens everything we're seeing. How great is that? Powerful tools. Coming down, I like to carry the color all the way through. If you want to soften further, if you take a dry soft brush and you go over the top of it, you can even take that more out of focus. Look at that beautiful blend. It's really quite an extraordinary thing. So what you want there are two soft brushes that are clean. If you have one of these from one of my sets, my beginning and end set, you have one of my very favorite blenders and you have that brush. So you would be set. But remember, you can find these out in the world. They're available places. Now I'm going to mix my next color, and I'm going to use an artist knife to do that, just to control that. This is an artist knife. You could use a brush, but I don't want to waste any paint. So I'm going to use my artist knife, and I'm going to get a little bit of this magenta and dioxazine purple together. All right, so it's about 2 parts magenta to 1 part dioxazine, because I want sort of a much lighter purple. I don't want it to be so deep as is dioxazine, and you can bring it across your pink there to help that transition. And I'm going to come here, and I'm going to also blend in all around here as this. See how we're doing?
Yeah.
This is a fun background. Soft pressure. Notice I'm not flexing the brush hard. I'm not pressing it into the canvas with all my strength. I'm dancing. I'm dancing and dusting. I'm using all these descriptive words because sometimes when you're new to painting, you know, it's hard to know what kind of activity I might be looking for from you guys as an art teacher, right? What do I expect you to do on those little tiny adjustments, like how hard you're pressing on the canvas? So sometimes I describe, you know, things a little bit more detailed, but that's just because I understand that we all start from different places. Now I'm going to go ahead and dust this again. Look at how beautifully that dusts that and blends that out.
Super dusty.
Now the fun part. I'm going to really load up with a darker color. I'm even going to get some of my docs in there. It's pretty thick with paint, so you can always, this is a great way to do it. Bob used to like to do the dust, 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 the tap, tap, tap. What you're doing is making sure that the paint is incorporated through all the bristles. And we want to keep these great shades and half shades around because we're going to be using some cool atmospheric perspective.
You're really going to have to dry this a lot, aren't you? No, really?
I didn't use any slow drying agent, so it will dry fairly expeditiously.
Oh,
so
good.
This is called the 2-brush method. I have a whole video on blending acrylic paint.
So what'd you do there? Just grabbed another brush?
You grab the dry brush. This is a dry brush that hasn't visited water, and this brush is a little bit damp and it puts the paint out. Now, if you have an area where you're like, oh, I'd like to maybe soften that, you can just come in. But if you go like that, see what's happening there?
It blends it a little bit.
It blends it a little bit, but it can also cause a few little problems as the water gets out there. So those are just things to watch for.
Oh, neat. Yeah, that just softens it up a little bit when you use that dry brush.
Just softening it up.
Gotcha. Okay. And
if you get dry into dry, what I actually recommend is using glazing medium and not necessarily water.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
Because the water can make little spots. This is just something I've worked out working with acrylics over time, because so many people want to visit oil techniques.
That's really cool.
And it's like just trying to know what techniques will work with oil techniques. We're just trying to create that wonderful little glowy atmosphere.
This is really cool.
Make sure you wash your brushes out very thoroughly. I'm going to put those aside because I've got my soap so I can do it. Now, I am going to dry it, but it's not going to take like a long time to dry. And I'm also going to get a picture of it While I'm doing that, John's going to talk to you a little bit, and maybe he's going to look for some questions
I
if
got
you have
some.
any
I'm
questions.
going to talk about some stuff while you're gone.
Okay. Talk about some stuff while I'm gone. I'm going to take a picture.
So we had a really good question come up here
Mm.
while you were away, and that was I think it was Janet. She was saying that she has she's really hit some plateaus and having trouble getting further along in her painting, and is feeling like, maybe this is like is this just, should she continue to pursue this if she's having this much trouble? I think is where she's at.
Okay. Let me get
And
my
so-
little earphone back on because it escaped.
You escapade.
It escaped. All right. So, is there a point to go on, and can you plateau and never get past that?
And BAQ 2020 and how that relates.
Right. So what I'm going to say is no, you can't really plateau. What happens is that you'll get a set of skills and you'll get into a comfort zone. And as artists, sometimes we don't push ourselves into hard failure places in the way we're willing to as a beginner. Because we don't really know what we can do or can't do as a beginning artist, but we start to get a pretty good idea of what we believe we can do and believe we can't do as more experienced painters. At some point you get in there and you're like, I'm pretty good at these techniques, I'm pretty good at this stuff. You get comfortable, you're getting some positive feedback, and it's really hard to take that emotional risk to start failing again. And that is why I did Acrylic April. It was about breaking down those artistic walls and really starting to get back into how we construct paintings and how we overcome those barriers. So it's like a daily, you got to go every single day and you paint a little bit every day. And you don't paint like one painting a little bit every day. You do a painting every day for 30 days.
Can I ask you?
Hmm?
Let me ask you something here.
Hmm.
So if you're having trouble, like, you're interested in learning, you want to learn, you're willing to put the time in, but you don't know what to learn. Like, what's the next thing I need to do? Because that seems to be the problem, is not willing. There's like everyone seems to be willing.
In what way do you mean? Like, I don't know how to load a brush, I'm willing to learn, or I'm trying to learn more technique?
Like, I have some paints, I have some brushes, I kind of know like a little bit about, color theory, but I don't even know where to start on how do I pick up the brush? How do I hold it? How do I load it? Where do I begin?
Well, we have a program right now called the Big Art Quest 2016. John talked about the Big Art Quest 2020, but you'd have to wait for that. So if you need something today, you can do the Big Art Quest 2016. You can also go on Facebook. There's a series I did there, and I guess you can find them on the website now called Technique Tuesday, where we do tune-up and we go from like the beginning to just all that first stuff you need to know. Plus on this channel, there's a video, Acrylic How to Begin. So everything here is learnable. Everything here can be demystified. You may have to practice, you may have to hustle, but it's doable. All you've got to do is commit to yourself a little bit. And sorry, I kind of wondered around. I wasn't really sure how John was framing the question, so sometimes I don't know what question I'm answering.
Yeah, sorry.
But even if I don't answer your specific question, no, that's on me.
You got
it. That is not on you.
Oh, no, I think you hit that.
Oh, okay.
I think you did.
There's always an answer. That's my point.
Yeah.
Even if I don't give it to you today, there's always an answer, I promise, and we'll get it to you at some point. All right, I'm going to turn around, dry this a little bit, and then we'll get back to the process.
Yeah. So, make sure that I got the right mute button while she's... There we go. Okay, so, while we're doing that, make sure you... Oh, that's my microphone. Okay, there we go. I kept hearing a weird thing. It's my microphone cable. Anyway, make sure you use your hairdryer on the lowest heat setting, because heat can affect that. Just as a public service announcement we're all trying to do. If you're looking for, ways to find help with your techniques, paths forward on this, our website's a great place to check out. There's a search button in the upper right-hand corner, or if you click on videos, it'll bring you right in there and right into our video section. And it's broken up there with a couple of quick links, the BAQ, other videos that you might like. They're made conveniently easy right there on the page.
I'm making a mark about 3 fingers up, and over here about 3 fingers up. And I'm going to begin my little story of a hill. I'm still using my watercolor pencil because it will sort of vanish very nicely. There we go. Yeah, I feel like I like that. So this will be the first part of our hill right here. And we're going to paint this in a light purple. Now I'm going to grab one of my number 8 cat's tongue. You could use a big round, you could use a bright. For what we're about to do, it's not really that critical. I'm going to go ahead and get into my purple mixture that had just a little bit of magenta to it and add some white. See how we're doing? Add some blending medium so it doesn't vanish on us so quickly. And I'm going to come along here and I'm going to begin to paint the hill that my happy scarecrow is living on. And I'm going to just brush firmly back and forth. See what I'm doing? Brushing firmly back and forth.
You know, I will say this is a not very effective scarecrow.
No. No, he's a very social scarecrow that says hi to all the crows.
He does. He's like, come on over,
He
let's
does
hang
not
out.
buy into the farmer's agenda for him. He lives his own life.
That's right. He marches to the beat of his own.
Crowing.
That's right.
Scarecrowing. He does it his way. Sings Sinatra. It's a whole thing. He's very happy in the field.
So I guess this is one of those things where how you put the expression on your pumpkin can greatly
Yes,
determine
you
the outcome.
could make him scary. I might not put crows on him if I was trying to make him super scary. Right? I would maybe like put little arms up and stuff, like little zombies are coming out of the ground. If I was trying to make him scary.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to add my little fence, and I'll go ahead and continue to use this mixture, which is the purple and the magenta and a little bit of white. And I'm going to come here and I'm going to just make a line. That's pretty easy. I'll come over a bit and I'll make another line. Now here's what's great. This is kind of a broke down fence. So
you
you
don't
need
have to
to
worry
make
about
perfect lines are small. Right? And in fact, sometimes it's nice to make the line at an angle. Come here and maybe give another one right there.
This is awesome.
Fun stuff to do.
Well,
to me, it's fun.
I love how relatively straightforward it is to get a really cool effect.
Pretty straightforward and quite a lot of fun. Now, as I move towards the center, a little trick that I can do is to add maybe a little more water to my mixture where this hot spot is. White to my mixture, not water. And just lighten it a touch.
To make it a little bit more glowy.
Just a little bit. And maybe this one only has one post. It broke down. And we can always get into darker and darker as we come back. I'm going to take that one over a bit. And it can have 2 posts. Now I got some posts. I've got some wood fence afoot. And just letting those have those little values can make a big deal. Now I'm going to switch to a number 4 round to do my grass. And I'm going to kind of do grass the slow way, which is just this sort of upward little stroke. So we're going to come here, we're going to get our white, get it mixed into that purple mixture that we have.
You know, sometimes
I'm dipping my brush in water and swirling 1 to 2 drops around in this mixture so it flows off my brush better. And I'm going to come here and I'm going to just go upward on the toe of the brush. And what that does is that makes that wonderful grass silhouette that we're going to be enjoying later. Notice that I'm not mowing grass like that.
Yeah.
Tempting to do, but what you want to do is curve some of your strokes to the right or curve some of them to the left to make your grass seem, you know, maybe a little bit wily and
I love this technique when you take the time to just go through and do all the little grasses.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sometimes the extra time is worth it.
Right. And you can do that as a beginner. Something you have as a beginner is a little extra time. So if I want to come in and make maybe these out here on the outer edge a little bit darker as I'm moving forward, I can. These are touches that you can afford to do at any stage. I'm going to come over to the far right.
This is an interesting question from Shelby.
Hi, Shelby.
is it better to mix colors with a brush or with a spatula or a palette knife?
Artist knife is better, and here's why. You can control the uniformity of your mixture. You can make more, and you waste less, because a lot of times when you mix with a brush, especially if you're having to do large amounts of mixing, a lot of it ends up in the belly of your brush and in the filaments, and not necessarily always where you need it. So you get a lot more control if you'll use the artist knife. If you don't have one, though, don't let it stop you. These are little adjustments in your art practice that you can make over time. So coming forward. And as I come forward, maybe I'll get more into my white. Adding some of my glazing medium, just so it comes off my brush a little easier. See how we're doing that? Just there. You don't have to do that. You could go right across with just the same color. But showing those little value changes can make a difference. Now when I have all that worked in, guess what I'm going to do? Second coat. And the reason I like to make a second coat, and I'll even kind of pull this up into it, is just so that that silhouette layer has that nice look that digital art will sometimes give us. And we want to be able to duplicate that as much as possible in our painting if we're starting with that kind of a reference. Like, how can we get that? So that would be a thing that we can do. See, and I'm just coming up with this brush, and I'm blending those two zones together. Can you see this, how much it strengthens the piece?
Yeah.
Little touches, big results. Not requiring to be highly skilled per se if you know they're needed. The skill probably is that knowing that they're needed. As a new artist, you might not know that's needed and get stuck in an area that is frustrating to you because you weren't aware of how many layers an effect to look a certain way might take. Right? So now we've got, look at that, atmosphere, right? Atmosphere, atmosphere, atmosphere. I'm going to dry again. I'm going to get my thing and dry again.
Where'd you go? Oh, that's what the thunder was. It was the small dog cruising by the hair dryer, I think, which was what we heard. So, yeah, I'm just really sort of enthralled. I really love this effect. This is one of those paintings that uses some very simple techniques that even if you're just starting out painting, you can really get a good effect with this. It really turns out nice. So don't be afraid to try this one out at all. When you're doing this, what you see her checking for is to make sure that's thoroughly dry. That way you don't pick up any of the lower layer. Oh,
you're okay.
She disappeared on us.
It's good for me to get back. Every once in a while, it's a good idea to get back from your canvas anyways.
Take a look.
And take a look. Yeah. Just grab a sense of it and take a look. I do these step by steps because it really helps you guys alleviate your anxiety about what you're painting.
Yeah.
See it in the step, you'll go, okay, I got to get the background in it. It's got to look something like this. I got to get this layer in it. It's got to look something like this. And then you stop having panic attacks about falling behind. Because even though you guys have the pause button, I know sometimes you forget. I can just pause and rewind her as many times as I need. Please do that if you need it. It is okay. I won't be offended. Now, I'm going to freehand this little fellow in because I've been painting a while and drawing a while, and I feel kind of confident to put one of these in. If you're not in that space, please just take advantage of the traceable. And then after I'm done with this, I'll put a grid up for those of you who are ready for the gridding method and are like, I'd like a little grid, right? But just don't want to like freehand it. So freehanding is fun and honestly easier than you might think. Now to improve my heavy body black paint, I'm going to bring my little squirter over here and squirt a little water out, and it's actually kind of dry, so I'm going to get some water in my brush and bring it over. So I'm thinning it. If you have craft paint, what you're trying to do is thin it to about the consistency of craft paint. If you're blessed and you have fluid paint, which I do, but I like to show you how to modify your one paint because you might be starting out with just one paint. And what you see me doing here, see this roll and pull? I'm pulling the paint out of the brush and moving it to the tip. Now, he's going to be coming up at an angle, centering right here. He's got a bit of a gesture that curves. So I'm going to put his little head right here. Pretty straightforward. It's a circle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's a straightforward little thing. It's a circle. Once I have the circle in, I can think about my wood post that is coming down. And maybe here has kind of a little bend to it. Looks sort of like a little knot in wood. Helps let us know that he's got this wood body he's kind of perched up on. And also now we put him into the tall grass. Well, that was pretty doable. And he also has almost coming out from his head. I might make his head a little bit bigger so he's more focal. Size of things helps focus things. And also contrast. The fact that his background is so light and he's so dark creates a lot of wonderful kind of contrast. So let's bring another little stick out. We'll take it pretty far, right? Because the farmer, when he built him, was like, I just got some wood. I don't got a lot of time to do that.
Right.
Same thing. It doesn't actually, by the way, a little trick about scarecrows when you paint them, you don't even have to make their arms the same length because it's wood. It do what wood do. And if you're kind of bumpy in your hands, that's also fantastic because who's to say it wasn't bumpy in exactly that way. Now, his hat, I'm going to just make a nice big brim. However you want to exaggerate that is up to you. And then I'm also going to come up for the hat itself. Now, the hat is a triangle that we stretched out to a skinny little point, right?
Yep.
And you can make it kind of wrinkled just by wiggling your brush. See how we did that? I wiggled my brush and I got a wrinkly little hat. And to make it feel more hatty, we'll just come bend it into the brim a bit. That's helpful. You just make the head however you want it to be to work out. That's pretty good. We have the head in. I'm tempted to take a picture at this stage because this is one of those pivotal stages that you hang everything else off of.
Yeah.
And you guys should look at that and make sure you're getting there.
I can see that. Gotta get those stages.
I like to on these. When I do a digital design, I like to catch the stages here.
I get it. There's some interesting things that we'll talk about stages after this.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So now I can put in his little jacket. And I'm going to come in, I'm going to come along the wood, I'm going to wrinkle my brush stroke. I'm going to stop about here. And I'm going to just flick up his tattered little cloak. And then it could come out here and be also tattered. Oh, tattering is super fun. I can bring it back this way. And you can't really get it wrong because the more you tatter it, how awesome is it, right? To that end, you can go ahead and take down these little tears and things. And let's make a little tear that joins. Little rippy bit. Rippy bit. And let's make little rippy bits this way, but blow them mostly that way. All I got to do now is paint that whole thing in black. What you're looking for is a solid black silhouette. If your paint is streaky, it's likely that it's just because it's a student paint, right? And you might just need 2 coats. But that's the fix. You don't have to like have a big stress about it. I'm going to go ahead and bridge that tear a little bit, making it a little more rippy. You can see how I did. That's how I got that rippy shape. That's pretty fantastic. It's already looking pretty awesome, I would say. Guess what? He gets a nice little jacket on the other side too. Farmer at least gave him a coat with 2 arms. Maybe come up and thicken that there. And then we're going to come out here and we're going to give it definitely some blowy bit. Look at that blowy bit. When I want to make a fine line, I'm dependent on the thinness of my paint, that it's thin enough to flow out, and also that the point of my brush will let me do so. Those are the 2 places that kind of comes from. Now I'm going to come here and we're going to make this coat very blowy. Very blowy. Which is my favorite thing to do. This is basically based on S curves and C curves. So if the brush stroke looks like a C, it is a C curve brush stroke. If the brush stroke looks like an S, it's an S curve, even if you sort of squish it. Where I want this to look more whimsical and delicate, I might just carry these out and exaggerate some of these blowy bits. Exaggeration is the domain of artists, even when we're being realists. Something about it is exaggerated and different than reality, and we all know it when we see it. There we go. That's a nice little guy, isn't he?
Yeah.
That's pretty good. I'll catch this one too. How are you guys doing even on the freehand? Hopefully this one doesn't feel that intimidating for that freehanding process.
No. There will be the traceable up on the website here?
The traceable's already up.
Oh, good.
Because I know many of you don't want to like start this thing without the traceable. You'd be like, that's not cool, man. Right? Okay, while we're here, let's go ahead and take advantage of where we're at and come along and add some land underneath our dude. Now, I don't want my land to go up so high that I will lose the layer that I have of my lighter purple, right? Notice I didn't make a straight line across. That's because I want a slight rise and fall of my grass as I paint it across. In this particular case, I'm going to just use my cat's tongue at first to begin the grass. And this is going to make sure that that blending between the base and what's coming up is there. And then I'll come back with a refined brush and make little tiny bits of it. But I'm just making some of this, you know, confidently painted across.
Yeah.
There we're going. This is all about preventing mowing the grass. Because sometimes we want to paint golf courses. And it's only good to paint golf courses when you're painting golf courses. Which I have if you're into golf. Golf painting. I've got them.
Now, Annette was asking, is acrylic dangerous to breathe as it dries?
Nope. Does not do off-gassing.
Oh.
Does not produce any VOCs. It is if you heat it.
Which is why we always say,
Don't
don't
heat
use
it.
heat. Yep.
You'll see out there demoed people using torches for pores. Don't do that. It off-gasses formaldehyde at the very best and often much more dangerous chemicals at the very worst. Most Prop 65 warnings on paint aren't really relevant to you because you're not going to ingest it or inhale the product. And often it's inert even by the time it gets to the water. But it all becomes super active once you set fire to it, as many firemen will tell you. Stuff gets dangerous beyond the fire itself when it burns. You get a lot of chemicals and a lot of exposure to things you don't want, and it only takes 120 degrees to do that.
So don't do that.
Don't do that. And not a big deal, 1 painting, 2 paintings, but if you're in a closed studio all the time, it can add up. Now I'm going to come here with my little brush and make this grass prettier. So now I've got my number 4, and you can see that I'm layering this. This is a layered grass technique, using 2 different brushes, right, to create a more delicate and synergistic little flow here. And you can see that we're keeping our little lighter hill as we would want. Look at us go. These little grasses, they're so cute. I might focus some of my little grasses on him a bit, since he's my focus. And you can see how that underlayment really helped me keep that thick space, but I've got those weird little pops where just a hint of purple comes through. That's yummy space for an artist. Hopefully yummy space for you. Touch up any bits of purple peeking out. They ruin our illusion. That's just craftsmanship right there. I'm going to step back, get a photograph, and dry it because I really want to be able to steady and rest. Oh, gosh, it looks so good.
It really does.
I really want to be able to steady and rest my hand, right? So to do that, the surface needs to be dry. Otherwise, I'm going to just be dragging acrylic paint all over the canvas and ruining the hard work I'm doing.
That totally makes sense.
My camera, and go ahead and make sure you guys have this step. Steps.
So while you're there doing that, Annette was just asking if she's doing some craft shows, is it okay to sell paintings she did from your tutorial?
Okay, so this is super interesting. I have a use policy. It only applies to me. Would not apply universally to teachers because actually most classes don't give you the rights to resell or publish or use the paintings past the class. Now, if you look down at the bottom of all my video descriptions, it's going to tell you some things. It's going to say, hey, if you're selling to a friend or family member, cool, congratulations, that's great. If you sell in a public place, such as a craft show, on Etsy, online, eBay, galleries, you should attribute. That means somewhere in the painting you're like, design and, attributed to the art Sherpa, right? And I'm going to I have a cool new thing I'm going to post up that lets you know exactly how to do the attribution for how much of a person's work you use. And that's more ethics and morality, but for me, it's part of my use policy. So just like somewhere, you just let people know designs from the art Sherpa. If you do so in a commercial fashion, like you're teaching classes from my designs, if you're making prints or reproductions, if you're printing labels and sticking it on your candles, whatever you've got going on, you need a license from me. Now, most people make these licenses prohibitively expensive. We did not do that to you. It is a very inexpensive license. It's kind of like how we don't have to run down everybody who uses the work inappropriately. And then now it's turned into a wonderful support that we do for other artists and business. So those are the 3 ways you can use it. If you want a license, check out Labs. If you're selling in a gallery, go ahead and attribute. And if you're just selling to a friend, that's up to you. I'm not going to be I'm not going to bug everybody's house to be like, do they credit me? I'm not going to do that. And I don't really personally have ego involved in that at all. So I'm okay either way. Remember, does not apply to any other teacher, designer, artist out there. You have to ask each one what their personal use policy is as a student, if that makes sense. And also, everything on Pinterest is not for you to paint. Just the thing people don't seem to know as I'm saying it. For personal enjoyment that you want to hang on your wall, cool. Publishing or saying it's my original design, if you paint somebody else's design, it doesn't make an original design, it makes it a replica. Totally different deal. I don't know.
That totally makes sense. So I think that answers the question. So you think is it dry? Do you think it needs more drying?
Actually, what? John just totally husbanded me.
Did I? What is that?
That means that you know me so well, you know that if you ask me that kind of a question, I'm going to talk so long.
Well,
that I don't even need to use a hairdryer.
I'm not.
Gersh.
I will say I've been here before. I'll just say I've been here a minute.
Oh, man. He just really got me, guys. That's okay, though. Those are things you need to know. Don't get afraid of it, though. Just be aware of it. It's just a courtesy thing. It's also a legal thing, but mostly it's a courtesy thing. All right, so I'm just refining those little feathers there because I wanted to. And I'm going to build my little crow body. Now to do that, I want to make sure I have a little room for some legs. So I'll just go ahead and stick my legs there right now. See how I've guaranteed myself some bird legs?
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing that can get away from you, bird legs. Once I have my bird legs on, I'm going to paint a little kind of football shape. You got to love the football shape. I'm going to carry that little football shape sort of upwards. And then there's going to be another smaller little football shape here. I'll go ahead and pull that back into the neck. Bigger beak than you might think. Go ahead and make that a nice bigger beak. And then I will pull the tail out. After I get the tail out, I'll go ahead and put a little silhouette in up for the wing. See how I curve that up there and kind of gives a wing impression? That's how I do my bird. Freehand. Woohoo! Now this little cheeky bugger is sitting in a different position and he needs a different breakdown. However, I am going to just start with his legs. 2 skinny little lines. We can do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to make that little football shape. But that little football shape now is going to be kind of at an angle. See how it's sort of at a diagonal? I love teaching art. It's just so crazy. Like, how do I explain this? And his little head is going to be here, kind of positioned in a weird position over his body until you do this, which makes it seem like he's looking back, which he is. Then kind of the big bendy crow thing. There you go. Crow there, crow there. That's all you got to do to crow. Okay. Base. Let's start with a little white and a little yellow. And the reason I suggest white, especially, let me get a little more white out, if you're painting student paints, is your yellow will be one of your weakest colors. And even as you upgrade, I mean, it definitely gets 1,000% better. Totally worth doing. But even as you upgrade, yellow is a transparent color. Sort of its nature. At least it's no longer super poisonous. Because it used to be for artists, poor artists. Now I'm going to come in and I'm going to paint in my expression. I've got a little bit of I'll chalk it here so you can kind of see. You've got to imagine where your brim is, but I will lightly chalk it in. See how that's where my brim is?
Yeah.
So that means that I'm going to bring my eye up to the brim. And I'm going to pull it out a bit. I'll go ahead and paint that in my first yellow. Oh, I took it way far out. I can fix that with black paint. I can fix it.
Can you?
Yeah, you just come back with a little black paint and go, no, you don't go there. Stop it. I'm the artist. You listen to me. Get a little more of my yellow paint. I'm not trying to make like a super light yellow. I'm just trying to help let the pigment of the white help the yellow cover its first layer. I'm going to do a similar thing right here. Paint in that little eye shape. You could pretty much, though, go online and find any pumpkin expression that you liked and apply it here. All right, so you are free to do what you want any old time. All right, so now I'm going to put in his little triangle nose as they have. And then put in a big smile. I'm going to show you a trick where I get the smile in first and then I bring the teeth back, because sometimes that is easier, friends. To give that big smile first.
Yeah.
And then put the teeth back in. While this is all having rest, I can come in with a little black and I can clean up my lines if they need cleaning. Right? You can crisp those up and refine those a bit. So super doable. Rinse, rinse, rinse. Now we're going to do an interesting thing. We're going to take a little bit of our yellow and a smidge of our orange, No white this time, just the yellow and the orange. And you may need glazing medium for this, just to make it a little more transparent. And we're going to come here and go ahead and capture some of the glow that we would have because of the light from his eyes. I'm going to put a little bit on the tail.
That's
And the wings. You might have a little bit right here. Just a bit. You can add some to these that are up. Little bits where you're like, oh man, that might make a little bit of a, might have a little impact, right? Because his face glows out, and you do want to talk about that. I'm going to take a picture here, and I'm going to finish it up.
I really like this. I like this guy. What I especially like is that this is a bunch of very simple techniques, so that just strung together in such a way that you could get this done.
Yeah,
even if
where
you were
it's
very
a gorgeous painting based on simple techniques. Now I'm going to come in with a little bit of my orange. And I go ahead and I do tend to mix it into some of my yellow, so it's more of a half transition. Come into the inside of your eye. And I will go ahead and come to the outside of my eye. Just doing his glow. And I'm going to come across here. Might even get some darker orange over here. That's fun. I'm going to get some of my just yellow. Just make sure that that's a nice little line, kind of blended in. And you can always sort of get some glow going. See, I'm going right there. I'm adding a little bit of that fire to those spaces. It's a little touch, but I like it. Back into the yellow orange that we kind of used to glaze him. I'm going to go ahead and add in my little glazing medium if I have it. I'm just going to make sure a little bit of him is lit up past what we've got going on. Back into my black. Let me make sure that that's really flowing out. Give him some funny teeth. And then I just sort of refine that lining there. And I'd say we've got a pretty good little guy. So you know what we can do now?
Sign it?
Sign it. How much fun was that? A little teeny tiny signing brush. I've been using them all this week. So now my advice is to use a color. In this particular case, I think it won't harm the piece to use a bright color and sign it. Sometimes you might want to do purple. Everything that you do on your canvas, every mark that you make contributes to the composition. So, you know, just be thoughtful in your signing process to how it impacts the painting. I feel as long as I'm using colors I used in the painting, I can make a brighter than usual signature. There you go.
Yeah. It does those sharp.
I'll make sure I get this last step, and I'll build a step-by-step for you guys in a little grid. I'm going to turn around.
All right. That's awesome.
Sometimes when we look at digital painting or digital work, it feels like it wouldn't translate into any medium. One of the things that you get to do in art school that I love to be able to pass forward to you is that you can use paint, especially acrylic paint, to mimic other things, to make it look like other things. And so even if something's in an oil painting, or even if it's in a watercolor painting, or even if it's a pastel, chances are there's a way to make acrylic paint kind of look like that. And that's important to keep in mind, even as you're starting out on your first painting, that this road is long and there are many adventures to be had on it. I hope you guys are liking the 13 days of Halloween. I hope you're going to join me tomorrow for the next painting. I want you to be good to yourself, be good to each other, and I want to see you at an easel really soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.